Hello and welcome to our accounting lesson, where we will be discussing sales tax management. Today's topics will include sales tax setup, sales tax agencies, sales tax adjustments, and sales tax payments. So with that, let's get started. Now before we get too involved in managing our sales taxes, let's first start with the basics and discover what we can do to set up our sales taxes in our Striven system. To do so, let's click the Company tab and Settings from the drop-down. To find sales taxes, you can click the Accounting section, followed by Sales Tax. Here you'll see two drop-down options, one of which is Agencies and the second is Setup. Let's choose Setup and see what we can discover here. So in this page, you can decide when your sales tax is owed, whether that's an accrual basis, which is as of the invoice date, or a cash basis, which is upon receipt of payment. We can also choose our sales tax GL account, which by default is taxes paid, but if we need to change this, we can highlight the name of taxes paid and erase, and then choose another GL account from our list of chart of accounts. There's also a plus option, which will allow us to add a brand new GL account, in which we can choose to enter our name, we can choose an account type, we can add an account number, designate a parent account, and much more. Once you've chosen your options here, you can click Save to make sure that your changes are saved appropriately. Next, let's go into Agencies and see what we can configure there. On the screen, you will see a list of your sales tax agencies. Here we can search for agencies by typing in a name. We can also search for active or inactive agencies as well. To add a brand new agency, simply click the blue Add button, and this will bring up a page in which you can start to configure what sales tax agency you would like to add into your Striven system. You'll see at the very top we have three choices for a new agency. We have a state tax, a city tax, and other tax. Let's start with our state tax. With the state tax, you can choose your state by selecting the appropriate abbreviation from the drop-down. As I scroll down, I can see all the abbreviations listed alphabetically. Then I can choose the appropriate state in which I want to add an agency for. Let's choose New York in this case. That abbreviation will be added as a tax name, but this can be changed simply by typing in your new tax name. The next option is whether this agency is a tax group or not, but we'll be covering this later on in the video, so stay tuned for that. Next we have sales tax agencies. Agencies are the vendor in which you have to pay the sales taxes for at the end of a specific period of time. Here I can choose the field and start typing to see if we have a sales tax agency available. If I do not have a sales tax agency, I can click the plus option by hovering over the field, and this will allow me to search for a new vendor. I can search for the New York Department of Taxation, and I can choose New York Tax Office from the drop-down by clicking the Add button. Once I click the Add button, this vendor will not only be added to my Striven system, but it will also automatically be associated to the sales tax agency. Next, I can simply choose the sales tax percentage that I'm going to charge for this agency. State sales tax in New York is 4%. Then I have my toggle options, which include whether I want shipping to be taxable or whether this is my default sales tax rate. By choosing default, this sales tax agency and rate will be chosen automatically. But if you don't want that to be the case, you can simply uncheck default and choose Save and Close. Once you choose Save and Close, you'll see the new sales tax agency listed down below, in which case this is New York, with the sales tax percentage of 4%. Next, let's add a city sales tax agency to see how that functions. So to do that, we'll click the Add button, and this time we'll choose the City Tax Radio button. Here we can choose the state in which the city is located. Let's keep up with the New York theme. And then down below here, we can enter the city in which we're choosing to add the sales tax rate for. So let's say we're going to build a Yonkers sales tax, for instance. So now we have the state with the city afterwards, which is the tax name. If we want to, we can change this any way we want. We can remove New York, or we can change this in any way, shape, or form. It's totally up to us and customizable. Next, let's choose our sales tax agency, which we already have in our system, so I can type NY and choose New York Tax Office. Next, let's choose our sales tax rate. For Yonkers, the city tax is 4.5. Now here we can choose whether shipping is taxable or if this is our default as well, but let's just choose Save and Close. Now let's build out our third agency type, which is Other. So I'm going to choose the Add button once again, choose Other from the radio button, and now let's add the third type. Other types of sales tax agencies could represent governmental agencies such as counties or things of that nature. Let's call this one Special. And then I can use my sales tax agency once again. Let's keep the New York theme and add my sales tax percentage, 0.375. So now I've built out my other tax, and again I can make shipping taxable, or as default I'm just going to choose Save and Close. So now we've added three types of sales tax agencies. We've added a state, which is New York, we've added a city, which is Yonkers, and we've even added an Other, which is Special. Let's build these out to one complete tax group, because if you live in Yonkers, you actually have to pay a complete sales tax rate, which is 8.875% sales tax. So we'll have to build that rate. To do that, let's click the Add button. We're going to choose City Tax. We'll choose New York from the drop-down. We'll choose the city as Yonkers. And this time I'm going to change this to say Yonkers Actual. I'm going to choose Is Sales Tax Group. And then we're going to add all three that we just added. We have our New York, which is our state sales tax of 4%. We have our city sales tax, which is Yonkers 4.5%. And then we have our special, which is 0.375%, making a 8.875% sales tax rate. Here we can choose whether it's taxable with shipping or whether it's our default. But here I'm just going to click Save and Close. And now we've built out a tax group, which is the actual Yonkers sales tax. So you can get pretty creative with your sales tax agencies, whether you build groups, charge for states, cities, or other sales tax agencies. And that was a demonstration of how you can do all of the above and create a complete sales tax group as well. Now, Striven also has a recognition capability based on the customer's ship-to address on entities like sales orders and invoices, to list some examples. To demonstrate that and what that recognition capability entails, let's click the plus tool and add a new sales order. So now that we have a Yonkers sales tax, let's add a customer who we know is in that area. So this customer's default is in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, but if I scroll down, you'll see that because we don't have a sales tax rate at that particular area of the world, we have an out-of-state, which is 0%, and that's our default tax rate. So because that's our default, it shows that automatically. Now, if we choose their secondary location, which is Yonkers, New York, for both their bill to and ship to, as we scroll down, you'll see that the Yonkers actual has been chosen, which is 8.875%. So based on the address that's chosen here for the customer, as long as you have a sales tax agency, which is either the state or the city, Striven will automatically recognize it and associate the sales tax rate appropriately. Now, as the sales tax rate is built up from selling products, you will be able to pay off your sales taxes as needed, but one other thing you can do is adjust your sales taxes. To do so, you can click the Accounting tab, and over here on the right you have Sales Tax, and underneath you have the ability to adjust. So if I click Adjust, a pop-up will appear, and here I can choose my sales tax agency. Once again, this is going to be the vendor who we're going to pay, so I can choose NY Tax Office. Then I can choose my sales tax, and this is the rate in which we need to pay. So I can choose New York, for instance, if we need to pay off our state sales taxes. Next, I'm going to choose my class. So if I'm requiring class tracking, I need to fill this out. But if you're not tracking classes, you won't need to worry about this particular function. Next, I can choose my transaction date. So when is this adjustment going to take effect? I can either choose a previous date by going back in time, or I can choose a future date, or just choose today's date as well. Next, I'm going to choose my adjustment account. This is the account in which I want to adjust the sales taxes for. I can either type ahead to find something in the list of my chart of accounts, or I can click the hover plus icon and add a brand new account as well. By typing ahead, you can find your particular account and choose it from the drop down, and that will be the account that gets adjusted. And then I have my adjustment amount, so how much is being adjusted for the sales taxes on this particular transaction date. I can enter that number here. If it's a negative, I can just enter the minus sign and choose a number, which will put it in parentheses, which notates a negative number. I can also just put a positive number, which means I'm adjusting upwards. And I can also write a memo if I need to as well. That way, if I need to revert back to this on a future date, the memo will let me know exactly what I was adjusting for. Next, I can choose Save and Close, and that will create a journal entry automatically in our system to adjust what we have to pay for our sales taxes on that period. To find that journal entry, we can go to the transactions list. So we'll go to Accounting, Transactions. I'll open that in a new tab. And I'm going to adjust this to only find journal entries, and I'll click Search. So as you can see, I have a journal entry, which is number 49, and the memo states this entry created as a sales tax adjustment. So if I click the transaction number, we'll see that the journal entry was created. I can see the default memo, which is this, and I can also see what I entered on the sales tax adjustment listed here. Here I can edit almost anything on this journal entry except for the taxes paid, and the reason why I can't adjust that is because it's our default GL account that we entered in our sales tax setup page. But here I can change the credits or the debits, and I can even enter a different line item memo as well if I need to. So now that we've adjusted our sales taxes, let's pay them off. To do so, click Accounting and choose Pay underneath the sales tax option. Here we'll see a list of sales tax rates in which we need to pay off with the agency listed in the middle. To adjust what is shown on this page, you can choose the calendar icon and move forward to whatever date you wish or backward to whatever date you wish. If I choose today's date, for instance, I'll see New York now appears with the payment amount of $23, which is what we adjusted just a little bit ago. So as soon as I choose a bank account, we can then choose what sales tax rate we want to pay off. In this case, let's choose New York. You'll also see the ending balance appear over here on the far right, which lets us know if our bank account has enough money to pay off our sales taxes. We also have an adjust tool over here on the far right, and if I click that, we'll get the same exact options that we had before, except this time, because we're doing it from the sales tax payment queue, our agency, our rate, and our transaction date are pre-filled out for us. But if we're ready to pay, we can check it off and click the Pay button, and that rate will disappear from our view because we've successfully paid it off, and make it the warning that lets us know that as well, that says one check successfully created. Now, just like the journal entry, because it's created automatically, we can view that in the transactions list. So let's go to Accounting, Transactions, and this time I'm only going to show a specific transaction type, which is checks, sales tax payment, and we'll click Search. And right here, transaction number 1044, if I click on that, we'll be able to see the check that was made to pay off our sales taxes. So that's a look at how to set up, adjust, and pay sales taxes within your Striven system.